So in this section, we are going to learn Python ARGs and KWARGs. What does that mean? When you don't know how many arguments you will be having in your code base as you are creating a dynamic function which can render many data from the database. And here these ARGs and KWARGs come. It specify the number of arguments you can put, means it make your function more dynamic. So let's deeper dive into it and learn how these work. So ARGs and KRGs, by default, a function must be called with the correct number of arguments. So our function should have the correct number of arguments which we are following to pass uh, the data from the function calling. So if we don't have the correct number of arguments, it can generate an error and it can malfunction. So our software can be crashed and software can do wrong calculation or wrong input data to be displayed on the screen or on the where we are rendering the stuff. So, however, sometimes you may not know how many arguments that will be passed into your function. ARG and KWARGs all allow function to accept unknown number of arguments. So that's it what we are talking about. So arbitrary arguments, which is the short form of ARG is the short forms of the arbitrary arguments. If you do not know how many arguments you will be passing into a function and are static before the argument names, this way the function receives a tuple of arguments and can access the items accordingly. So using static ARGs to accept any number of arguments. If you have multiple data to be executed, to be send it in your database or in your function, so here the ARGs come. So the ARG is just similar as the argument, but it has a more usability. Means you just have to put static before any argument you want to pass. So in our previous section, we have discussed that we can put arguments and we can call it in our function here, and we can pass the data which we want from here to be displayed in our function. So we are passing the data from the my function and it's going towards this function kids, and what it does, it will actually print the stuff. So if we run this, then you will say that one child name is come. So what if I have multiple child or there are multiple number of data the user want to provide? So here is the come of arbitrary arguments which allow us to pass many arguments from our function calling. So we are calling many functions. If we run this, it will show an error because here we have a simple argument name, and this simple argument which call as parameter when we are using in a function declaration, but when we passing from the function calling its name as arguments. So for now we are telling about the arguments, so we have to focus on it. So for making its arbitrary argument, we have to put the static before this variable. What does it do? You will see it. So if we run this, then it will still show an error. So we have to have the similar here where we are calling the variable. It will still showing the error. So what is happening? It's actually printing the tuple now. It's not no more our variable are which continue only one value. Instead, it's containing three values. So I am giving it a index of 3. So it's still showing an error. So we doesn't need to provide this static before it. We just have to put and click on it, and it will display the second child, I think. So yeah, that's it. It's directly giving the index of 2, which means it will be printing Linus. But if we have index of 1, then it will display the child which is on index 1. So which is Tobias. So it's the great way to pass an argument. Let's move forward. Arbitrary arguments are often shortened to static args in Python documentation. What is a static args? The static parameter allow a function to accept any number of positional arguments. Inside the function, args become a tuple containing all the past argument. So we have done already the something here in our function, but we can use all of the other data in our function in this way. Like if we put the data using the indexes, then it will display all the stuff one by one. So its data type is actually the tuple, and the first argument is Emil, which is on the index 0, and second argument is Tobias, which is on position 1, and all arguments will be displayed when we put the args whole argument. We are not mentioning the index, that's why it's displaying whole variables, whole data. So it is no more for one, it is just displaying full tuple. So this is how tuples looks in our code base, so you have to know about it. Let's move on towards next thing, which is using static args with regular arguments. You can combine regular parameters with static args. Regular parameters must come before static args. So what does that mean? If you want to have any parameter which is not static arg or the arbitrary argument, so you have to pass the stuff before the static args values coming. So these are all of this stuff will be stored in this static args variable, which is static names, but this only hello will be stored in the greeting. Why it is happening? Because um, the number of uh, argument we are creating here will be accepting that amount of data passing from here. If you have one argument here, then you have, and then it will consume only one variable, one value from here. So if you have many variables like new arg, so what will happen? It will actually use another value from this whole function calling. So if you put here, then you will see it is going to print this and this again, and all of the other stuff later. So why it is printing here? The number of argument increases here will cause the number of values will be consumed by the variables. So if we remove this one and run this, before that we have to remove this, and if you run this, then you will see what is happening. So it's actually only getting only the greeting variable, which has a value of hello, and all of the other stuff will be used as a value for the args. Hopefully you have understood. If you're not, you can try out by yourself. If you're stuck anywhere, you can comment down below and tell me. I will be resolving the stuff. So in this example, hello is assigned to greeting and the rest are collected in names. Practical example with args. So Static ARG is useful when you want to create flexible functions. Example, a function that calculates the sum of any number of values. So, if you have a function which has uh, an arbitrary argument, and if you are calculating something and returning any number, like here in this case we are returning total, what it does, you will see it. It's actually accepting many values in the first line. Because it's arbitrary, it can contain many values and a single value. It become more dynamic. You can put any value you want from 1 to 1 lakh. It's up to you, and it will dynamically work. So in the first case, we have three values. It is calculating it and giving the total of it. In the second line, it's also getting the sum value and calculating it and giving the sum of it. And in the third function, we are also calling single value, which has no total. So its total will be the actual number. If we increase it like this one, mm, so if we run this, it will still work. So this is how arbitrary arguments work. Let's move on towards next thing, which is finding the maximum value. Using arbitrary, finding out a maximum value is also possible. We doesn't have explored the for loop, while loop. That's why I'm not going deeper into it. We will be going deeper into it in that section. Just for now, the understanding, you have to need to know how it is working. So this is our function, and we have a condition. If length of number is equal to 0, then return none. Okay, so if we doesn't have anything here, if we run this, then it will display nothing, none. But if we have some value, what it does, it's actually calculating, it's actually seeing what is the maximum number. So in this case, we have 9 as a maximum number. So what if I put 1 here to make the 1 greater? Does it give the highest value? Yeah, it still works. If we put this, so as we are updating our values, which is passing from the function, it's actually changing the results. So it is dynamic and it is working perfectly. So we have a loop here which is actually doing the stuff which is required for us, and the loop is looping out through all the values from the arguments, actually the arbitrary arguments, and it is finding out is it greater than this. If not, if we're not doing anything, if it is assigning the max number as the number. So this is the logic, which is not important for now, but later we will be deeper dive into it. So just for your understanding, I have tell that. So arbitrary keywords arguments, the double KWARGs, what it does. If you do not know how many keywords arguments will be passed into your function, add two uh, asterisks before the parameter name. This way, the function will receive a dictionary of arguments and can access the items accordingly. So, using double static KWARGs to accept any number of keywords arguments. So, it actually works similar to ARGs, but it is more dynamic. It's work with the dictionary. So hopefully if you know about what is dictionary, in dictionary we actually having two values in a single value. we are assigning two values in a single value means you also declare what should be the information about and also giving the value of the information, like it is also containing the name word keyword, and it's also containing the name, which is Peku, Ali, Sarah, etc. So this is how work. In this case we are having two variables, one is f name and second is last name, and we also containing value for each variable. So this is how it's work. If we run this, then it will give the last name. What if we put f? Does it work? Yeah, it's actually work, and it will be useful when we go deeper dive into the other data types which we doesn't have covered yet, but in future we are going to cover them. What is double static KWARGs? The double static KWARGs parameters allow a function to accept any number of keywords arguments. In the function, KWARGs become a dictionary containing all of the keywords argument. So, for example, accessing values from double static KWARGs, we have a function here which is taking many values from our function calling. So if we run this, then you will see how is it working. So we have a function which is displaying for prints. So each print is doing each different stuff, like in the first one we are checking out its data type. In second one we are displaying its name. In third we are displaying its age, and in the fourth we are just printing out the dictionary which we had. So yeah, this is how dictionary looks and this is how it's works. Using K, it's difficult to say. Using double static KWRGs with regular arguments. So you can combine regular parameter with double static KWRGs. Regular parameters must become before the must come before, as we have done it in our argument section, arbitrary arguments, where we have to put values for other argument before the double static KWRGs. You can switch the arrangement and check it how is it working or not. Combining ARGs and KWRGs, what will happen? So it is not useful for now, I think, because it's taking a lot of time. But for your just understanding, you can see that how it's work. You can put both here in the same place and put the data here, and it will actually run without any error. So if I copy this out and print it here and run this to see what will be the answer, you can see that we actually having different arguments, the arbitrary arguments and the keyword argument, both are working as expected. So unpacking arguments, the single static and double static operators can also be used when calling function to unpack, expand a list or dictionary into a separated arguments. Unpacking list with single static. If you have values stored in a list, you can use static to unpack them into individual arguments. So for example, using single static to unpack a list into argument, you just have to pass the arbitrary argument from your function calling. So if you run this, you will see you actually having the still working it. So it is useful when you actually having a list and you just want to push the list towards the function to get the maximum value you want. So in it is more useful than other one, because other needs more values to be writing into the function calling, which is the worst scenarios, and it will never happen in productions. In real world application, we doesn't do that. We actually having a database which contain a lots of data, and we are just passing the variable or list from the function. So the function will contain all of the values from the particular variable, and it will calculate, or it will evaluate everything in the function without having to write each stuff again and again. So you can also do it with unpacking dictionary with double static as we have here. It will work. And remember that use static and double static in function. Define a definition to collect arguments and use them in function called to unpack arguments. Keyword arguments are often called what? Keyword arguments are called KWRGs. So if we click on this, we are correct. So let's move on towards the next section and see how that also work.